Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Indesign Power Tips with Leslie Friesen as part of our first ever Midwest Design Week. My name is Jacqueline Mullen. I am the president of AIGA Louisville, one of 70 plus chapters of AIGA, Professional Association for Design. This week we have been focusing on our theme of culture in its many forms, including that amazing night event, The 3 Ions of Design by Mike Nichols of Umber, and our keynote event on Friday night, which is Design for Liberation by Teresa Moses, who is the creative director at Blackbird Revolt, which is a social justice-based design studio in Minnesota. Information on all of these events are available at midwestdesignweek.com if you want to check out more. And to let you know, this morning we do have an ASL interpreter for the event. If at any time you're having trouble viewing this person, you can pin their image and it will show his picture the whole time. This would not have been possible without the support of our event sponsor this year, Kinsey Academy. Thank you, Kinsey Academy, for your dedication in providing the best for our design community. Kinsey Academy is happy to be part of Midwest Design Week and introducing the next event, which is InDesign Power Tips. Kinsey Academy is a coding and UX school built to upskill creatives and felt this InDesign event aligned with the mission of getting the skills needed to succeed. Their part-time UX design career program is built for working professionals to land their dream jobs successfully contributing to the future of work. With a flexible schedule, evening classes, and live instructors, Kinsey students get the best education available to help them grow their careers in tech. Join their Slack channel, which is hashtag Kinsey-Academy, in the conference workspace to connect and learn more. I'll also put that in the chat so you can refer back. And thank you to all of our sponsors of the Midwest Design Week this year. You've allowed us to do some really great things. So to introduce the speaker at hand, we all know InDesign, but do we know the extent of its capabilities? Well, here to teach us more and hopefully show us some tricks to a faster working speed is Leslie Friesen. With her over 30 years of experience in design, Leslie is currently teaching graphic design at the University of Louisville, where I studied under her. Leslie brings a great eye and passion for design that tends to be contagious. She's a great friend, mentor, sometimes coworker to me, and I'm sure you will all learn something today. So without further ado, let's InDesign.
Okay. So before I launch into my presentation, thank you for some of my other alums who have come into the room, and some of you could probably lead this workshop. I also want to give a big shout out to the Midwest Design Week team that put all this together, because it's a lot of work to put presentations together if you've ever been part of that. And we owe them a big round of virtual applause. So thank you for that. My presentation today is going to be directly done from InDesign. So it's going to be, I'm kind of going to be doing things live. So let me start just sharing the screen and we will get going. Okay, so I have to move my menus around so I can actually function in InDesign at the same time I'm got the Zoom windows open. So I want to start with a story before I go into the presentation. Several years ago, I went to the National AIGA conference, and if you've ever been to AIGA conferences, and including what's happening at Midwest Design Week, the topics are very heady, challenging, important, and it really just, it gives you so much for your brain, and it's important things. And then there's me. and I remember going to hear Jonathan Hoffler at AIGA, and he said, "Today I drew an E." And everyone just applauded, because I think sometimes you need sort of a mental break from the hard thinking that we're all doing. And this is a particularly challenging time. And I think I've been very engrossed in all the topics of the summer, the pandemic, the racial justice issues. But sometimes we need to sort of step back and give ourselves a little moment of breathing room. So this is a little moment of breathing room today. So now my disclaimer. My disclaimer is being a really good tool user does not make you a good designer. It makes you a really good tool user, because I really believe in process. That's how I frame pretty much every assignment that I teach. And what we're talking about today is really in this arena of production. So is that important? Actually, it is, and I'll kind of talk about that in a minute, because basically I think it makes you have more time for the stages back here, the design, the research, the ideation. And so if you can be better at producing your final files for whatever project you're on, I think that gives you more time for the other stuff, whether it's more fun, I don't know. So here's my plan. We're going to have about 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more, where I'm going to talk about some InDesign things. Like I said, if you need to check out, you can check out, and then we'll have some Q&A and additional tips and tricks at the end. So I did a little checking in before I did this presentation. I kind of wanted to know where people were. And what I found out is that probably 80% of people use InDesign frequently or every day who responded. This is like 15 of my alums who responded. Most of them use paragraph styles. Most of them use character styles. Only about 25% use object styles. I think you're going to enjoy object styles when I get done today. Only 20% really sort of go all in on styles and really use them to their sort of fullest extent. And then quick apply. What's that? That was like 86%. So I think the one thing that you can all write down now is quick apply, because that hopefully will become one of your go-to shortcuts. Spanning and splitting, again, I don't know what that is. So I just wanted to get a sense of where people were with InDesign and how they were using it, so that I knew kind of what to focus on. And for those who have been to my presentation before, I apologize for basically, you're going to see a lot of the same things, but I'm going to guess it will be a reminder because you won't have remembered it. So I love styles. I love paragraph styles, character styles, object styles, and I bet a lot of you don't even know that you can make stroke styles. And here's some favorite shortcuts: quick apply, which we'll talk about, command tab, command tilde, and the function enter key. So again, why do I love them? Because they make my production work way, way faster, and they also make it way more consistent. Imagine that you have 10 pages of a document, and then you have decided you need to change your caption style, which appears 5 places, and you didn't make a style. Well, are you going to remember to change all those? Are you going to want to? So I'm a big believer in sort of using styles so I don't have to remember so much. But mostly, like I said, they make me feel like a magician. So here's how I'm going to suck you into why this is important. So I want you to kind of look at this text box or this object and think, how many different specifications did I have to tell this thing? I had to decide my type style and weight, my leading. I have a different style here. I have yet another style here. I've got a special bullet. So I think this frame had, let's say, at least 24 different things I had to tell it. And I have a special stroke on there. I've got a drop shadow. Anybody that knows me knows that I hate drop shadows that show. I use them a lot, but I don't want anybody to know it. I just want a little bit of separation off the background. So again, I have told the copy in here a whole lot of pieces of information, but here's the fun part. Okay, this is what your copy looks like when you get it from a Microsoft Word document that the editor has provided you. So I'm about to hit, and you'll just have to write this down, and I'm giving Mac shortcuts primarily. I'll try to remember if I know the PC shortcut, but I'm going to hit Command Return. And that just brought up the quick apply window. It's this little lightning bolt that you see up in your upper corner, but you can type a menu item or a style in there. So I can type recipe frame. Oh, I have my recipe box doily border. Now watch what happens to this item that's selected when I click this. Boom. Oh, Ashley, I love your reaction. I can't see. This is what I miss on Zoom is I can't see reactions. So I just got a whole lot of my style information done for me in one click. I'm going to put another one over here. I'm going to do this one on top of here. And I'm going to hit Command Enter. That brings up Quick Apply. And I actually have a 2-column recipe frame. Oh, Ashley's like, she's loving it. At least I get to see one person's reaction. Now, it can't do absolutely everything. Your object style can tell which style to apply first in a frame, and then based on your first style, it can pick up the second style, but it can't go deeper than that. So I would have to go down here and I would have to say, Bedoni, let's see, that's recipe. You have to remember what you call these things. There we go. Recipe instructions. So I have saved myself a huge amount of time. So I'm going to sort of back up and walk through various style things that I do. So again, with Quick Apply, like I said, it might become your new best friend. Maybe you like it better than Command Z. I can select, I can type into the Quick Apply window a style that I've put in there or a menu item and very, very quickly get to it. It's great because I can't always remember where certain menu items are hiding. It's like, where is that particular thing? So Quick Apply helps me there too. Escape is another great tool. I'm in my text tool right now. And if I wanted to do W, it doesn't do anything. Like if I'm here and I want to go Shift W, which should show full screen, I get a W. Escape always gets you back to your direct selection tool. So that's something I use a lot also. So now we're going to kind of dive into styles. And I'm going to start with kind of an overview very quickly of a paragraph style versus a character style, because frequently when new designers, students are starting to use InDesign, they conflate character styles and paragraph styles. And they want to make everything character styles, and that's sort of the backwards way to start. You really want to use paragraph styles because they control all the attributes in a particular paragraph, including spacing. We're going to talk about some of these extra things that you may not be putting in there. Whereas character styles only deal with specific attributes and selected text. So if I want that BU to be something else, I could use a character style, bold, red, small caps, but it doesn't apply to the whole paragraph. So again, make sure if you're a young or early on in your InDesign usage, you know the difference, and start with paragraph styles and use character styles for any specific words or special things you want to do. So the other thing that I'm a real kind of nerd about is I do not want a bunch of extra returns in my, I'm showing invisibles in my files. So I don't want to see several returns. So if you're controlling your space between text items by extra returns, then you can have some problems happen. So you can do all that control of spacing with your paragraph styles. So here's a screen capture of what happens when you have an extra return. It can show up at the top of a column where you don't want it to show up. If you have it as an extra line space, let me see if I make this shorter. I still get that extra space, but I haven't had to have a return in there that could accidentally end up at the very top of my column by itself. Keep is a good option to remember in your paragraph styles. So keep options. Let me just open this paragraph style, find out what it is. I've got so many styles in here because I've played with this thing forever, this file. I can't even find it because I can't see everything. All right. Basically, what I have built in here is a keep option that says keep all the lines together at the end of a paragraph. I want 2 lines to stay together. If you're doing bullets, you might want all the lines to stay together. If you're doing long paragraphs, maybe you don't want 1 line to be at the top of a column like farms well. That would look pretty awful. So you tell it keep at least 2 or 3 or how much you want there. If you're doing a subhead and you want the subhead to stay with the copy, you can tell it to keep it with the next 1 or 2 lines. That's an example of keeping that subhead. So it's saying keep all the lines together in the subhead and keep it with the next 2 lines. So let me show you what happens if I try to make this longer. Let's see. I can get that down there, but I can't. Ooh, I need to change that, don't I? But basically, that subhead is always going to stay with the next lines below it. Now I got to get back. There we go. So it can't start down here by itself. So if you haven't used keep options, that's a good one to add to your repertoire. Spanning columns.
Leslie, I have a question about that keep options.
Yeah.
So you've had the one for the subhead, but are you able to do multiple keep options in the same group?
Let's see, hold on a second. Let me go back to, all right. Let me, I'm going to use quick apply, command return, and I'm going to type in keep options. And so I can open that window up without having to go find it. So this one, I've got it keep with the next. Oh, I could say keep with previous too. Let's see what happens when I do that. Previous 3 lines, 4 lines. Wow, that's not doing anything, is it? Keep all lines together at the start of a paragraph. I don't think I answered your question, Jacqueline, but basically I would say play with it, you know, click things on and off in the preview to get where you want. I've given kind of a lame answer there, but I'm trying to multitask and not doing a perfect job of it. Spanning columns. So another thing that I will see a lot is this copy up here might be in its own text box, and then this might be in a different text box. Well, you do not need to do that. I have this set up as a 4-column text box, but this copy, go up here, I'm going to look in my paragraph palette, and you can see it says span all. I could say span 3, and you see what happened right there. Let me do a span all. I'm going to select all of these are all set to span all, but maybe I decide I just want them to span 2. So you can keep your text all in one frame and control things through the span columns. And that's really nice because let's say I do have this white box for a sidebar. I don't have to have a separate white box and a separate text frame and another text frame for my type. It can all be one thing, which is great when I want to move things around. I'm just moving one thing. Oh, I never know what I'm closing because I've got to back up here. Yeah, there. I have these screen captures of menus, so I think it's a live menu, and I try to close it, and that doesn't work so well. All right. So we're going to talk now about drop caps and nested styles. That's another thing you can put into your paragraph style. So what you can tell it is that you want however many lines for your drop cap, how many characters, and then you can apply a character style. So it doesn't have to be whatever is the style you're using for the text in that paragraph. So let me drop caps and nested styles. See, again, just using this to quick apply to check menus. So you can get an idea of what happens with that. And let's see what other italic. So again, you can make all sorts of character styles and use them, but you have to make your character style first if you want to, in your paragraph style, build in a drop caps and nested styles. So, excuse me. Okay. So also you can do things like have a nested style, which tells you that I want bold red small caps through 3 words. So if I'm going to open up my nested styles again, and new nested style, I can say on this paragraph, I want it to go through, I want my bold red small caps to go through 1, instead of word, there's a lot of different things in here. I can say in nested style character. Okay, now you go, well, how do I end the nested style? Well, I can put my cursor anywhere, even in the middle of a word, and I can go up to my type, insert special character, markers, no symbols, no other, because I'll never remember that, in nested style here. Or I can just hit quick apply and say end, whoops, gotta get rid of that, in nested style here, and I can tell it to stop. So if I wanted to run in head, I may not know, is it always going to be 3 words? Is it going to be 4 words? Is it going to be 2 words? And it might be better to just put that in as an in nested style function. I know I'm sort of hurting your brains on some of these things. And then you can also under your bullets and numbering, you can make special bullets and you can add bullets. You don't have to just accept the defaults, and you can add bullets that are not from that particular style. Let me move this over. You can choose a different font. So if I want to, let's see, bullets and numbering. I can add a bullet, and I don't have to pick that font. I could pick Bedoni ornaments. Let me find them, Bedoni ornaments. There we go. And I could pick that and add it. I could add that. And so I've got some new bullets in here. And that could be my bullet. Let me preview it. Or that. So again, bullets do not have to be from the same typeface that your body text is from or your bullets are from. So undo. Using bullets and numbering, and again, with character styles is a nice thing.
Leslie, there's a question from the audience.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Can you bring your own, can you make your own bullet and bring it in?
Well, I'm not 100% sure if you can add it right here, but I do know, let me do this. Let me take away my indent here. Gonna get that back to no indent. Actually, I'll do a negative indent. Like we were going to have a bullet, okay? And I'm going to draw a little character. Let me zoom in on that. Get rid of some of that horrible drop shadow. Come on, turn that off. Okay, a little bit too much. Well, why didn't it turn off? Come on, no drop shadow. Let me make it a little bit. Whoa, okay, flip those and say, we'll just, I could mess around all day. Woo, oh, this has got one of my special rules on it. Let's kill that. All right. Whoa, we've got quite a bullet there. You can do some really ugly things if you want. All right. So I'm gonna, don't know if I need to convert this to outlines. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna just duplicate it and we'll find out. So I'm gonna cut that and I'm gonna go right before that B and I'm going to paste. So you can paste graphics in line and then they become anchored objects. So that may, I need to look into, can you add them to your bullet palette so that they really truly function as bullets? But I can actually put it in line as a graphic, and I learned I don't have to convert it to outlines. So hopefully that answers the question somewhat. It's not, it gives me something to look into because it would be nice if you could actually add it to your bullet characters. Something for me to learn. You can also put rules in paragraph styles. Let's see. Rules, paragraph rules. All right. So in this paragraph, I have a rule on above that's 2 points. And it is the gradient color. I made it go yellow to a white. And it is the width of the text with a little bit of offset. And it's like, okay, I can't see that. So let me say, okay. So now you can kind of see it's a rule that's kind of fades out. Let's go back to that. And there's also a rule on below. That's, believe it or not, this little thing. Preview always helps. So you can see what happens there. And I have it the width of the column, so it's really kind of going to be contingent on how wide your column is, because it's indenting it from the right. So you can do a ton of things with rules. You can do a lot of really ugly things with rules, but you can use rules if even, you know, a nice simple rule would be a nice thing in certain places to separate text from the text that's above it. However, rules don't work for two-line subheads. In that case, you would want an underline. Command return so I can get to underline menu. Where did it go? Why did it not come up? Underline options. There we go. So this one has an underline of 52 points, whatever, but it works for two lines because it's not contingent on above or below like rules are, because rules only apply to the above and below. So, wow, that's not working. Okay, there we go. I'm confusing some of you, but these are any of these things. If you use certain attributes a lot, learn how to sort of dig into them and use them to your benefit. All right, so object styles. We're now finally getting to object styles. Those you're going to use for your frame attributes. You're going to use them for stroke and fill, for inset, how far in from your edge of your frame does your text start, whether they have text wraps on them or not, effects, like are they transparent or slightly less than full opacity, and then paragraph styles and auto size. Those are some of the things, not everything, that you can put into an object style. So we're going to look at this object style. Object, let's see. I should just go to my style menu. I would be better off there. So here's my little object style palette. And in this, I have a fill of a Pantone color and a stroke of a different Pantone. I can do different corners. They don't all have to be the same. I'm not doing these because these are beautiful design. I'm just trying to show you the options that you can have. Paragraph styles. I have a paragraph style in there, subhead 2, demo text, and then it says apply the next style. Well, the next style is the bullet style. General options, I have my inset spacing. I don't have any column rules on that. Baseline, nothing there. Text wrap, I can have a wrap around that. And then let me go to transparency. This is something that if you ever go, oh, I can't put the text in a frame because I want the frame to be transparent and my text is going to be transparent. Well, no, we're going to go back to 100% opacity. You can select independently the opacity setting for the fill, the stroke, the text, and the whole object. So, you know, for years before this option was in there, I would have a separate box for that transparent item, and then I would have another text box for those things. The other things you can do in there, frame fitting, you can tell it to auto fit so that the frame fits automatically to the content and you don't have sort of an elongated or extra space on that frame. So object styles can do a lot for you. Anchored objects. So if you ever have to do something like this, where you have little logos in line with copy, and then you have to move things around, or you change a number of columns, it's really nice if they can stay anchored instead of, let me put this here and it looks fine now, and then next month I have to change the order of the dining guide, or I need it to be a different column width. That doesn't work. So anchored objects, what you do is you have whatever that graphic is. It's just like I was showing with the bullets. I'm going to cut or copy. In this case, I'll just copy it, so I leave it there. And then I have to go in here and paste it. And I paste, and there it is. And I can I have some latitude to move that around, but I'm going to use, guess what? Command quick apply, command return, and anchored object options. I want to look at those because you can determine what the reference point is. So I put my cursor right here, and that meant, let me change the reference point so you can see what the reference point is doing. And I have it relative to the column edge, not the text frame edge, which bounces it over here. So they're a little bit wonky, but they're worth kind of learning how to work with. Ashley likes that one too. Okay, yeah, I can't see all the pictures, only a few of you guys, so. All right, so some of my students will frequently say, well, when should I make a style? Well, there's no one point at which you should make a style. You can make it before you even start formatting your text. You can go, oh, I know I'm going to want to use 10-point Caslon on 14-point leading because that's my favorite. I'm always going to use that. So you can go ahead and set your body text to that. Oh, and by the way, you can change your basic paragraph settings to something other than whatever the default is. But if you know what you want, you can go ahead and make that paragraph style. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to play with a bunch of different things, especially when you're starting a new project, and print them out and explore them. And then once you pick something, you can say, yeah, that's what I want. And then you can turn that into a style. So again, either, both, all of the above, or import it from an existing document. So let me just fill with placeholder text. There we go. Fill with placeholder text. I'm going to drag that. And let's say this is my basic paragraph. What's my body text? So that's that. I'm going to undo. Let's say I'm exploring, do I want it on 14-point? Do I want it 9? What do I want for my body text? And if I've already made a style, in this case, basic paragraph really is a style, and notice in my exploration, it now says plus because I've changed something. I can redefine the style. Another shortcut is Shift Option Command R, and watch what happens when I do that to this text over here. So if you've made a style and then you alter it and go, well, that's now what I'm going to go with, you don't even have to open up your paragraph style window and change all those things manually and try to remember what you did. Just redefine the style. Undo, okay. So let's see what's next. Okay, I just showed you that shortcut, so we're done with that one. Okay, so we've covered a lot about styles. Now I'm just going to kind of shift gears to some other things that I think will make your life, your production life, easier. Column breaks. This is another thing that drives me crazy with my students. Let me turn on invisibles. How many of you would have, delete that, gone, return, 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 return? That is not how to get your text to the top of the next column. Again, I'm in 4 columns. What happens if I want to go to 5 columns? Oops, I've got a really bad place for that return. So if you want text to go to the top of the next column, step away from the enter key, the return key, and hit function return. Function enter or return is your shortcut to push something to the top of the next column. So anytime I walk up to a student's file and I turn on invisibles and I see those millions of returns, it's like, okay, I need to show you function enter.
I didn't even know that I could push function as a shortcut.
Well,
Now I know.
sometimes I've found things by accident. The command return, which is the keyboard shortcut for quick apply, I was constantly mixing that up with function enter, and I would hit command return and this quick apply window would come up and I'm like, go away, close that window. And I did that about, I don't know, a million times. And finally it's like, what is this quick apply window? And so I Googled it, learned what it was, and it's like, oh, my life has just changed. So some shortcuts I find that way. Some I learned from watching students, and Jessica Sewer is in the audience today. And one of my favorite things I'm going to show in a little bit, I learned from her. So here's another thing that I'm big on, which is how to control widows and how to keep words together. Let me see if my next page is talking about that. Let me go back. Okay. So this great subjects, I'm going to put a space in there. Here's my widow, which I don't want. I could hit a shift return, which hopefully everybody knows is that discretionary return, which says do a line break, but don't make it a new paragraph where I might have an indent or spacing. But what happens when you change however many columns this text box might be? Let's see if I can find a place where, there, you get that. You have the break someplace where you don't want it. So if let me go back. All right, just come on, Leslie. So 4 columns, I think. Okay. I've got to turn on Option Command I is showing my invisibles, which sometimes I need to do to find out what's going on here. And that's my discretionary return. So let me get rid of it. This little caret down arrow is the function enter. So if I want great and subject to stay together, I delete the space between them. And then I hit Option Command X. Option Command X is a non-breaking space. It would still read fine if it was being read through a screen reader, but it knows you cannot break great and subject. So let's say I always want Wendell and Barry to be on the same line, or GE monogram, or 1 million. I'm going to use that Option Command X. And if you don't remember where these are, you can do things like look under your type menu and insert non-breaking space, or you can go Command Return Quick Apply and you say breaking, non-breaking space. Okay. You can see that quick apply, I use it all the time because it's like, I can't remember where that menu item is. There's also things you can do with non-breaking hyphens. So if I don't want agribusiness, agri to be on one line and business on the other, I can make that a non-breaking hyphen. And what you do is you put it, it's a command option hyphen in front of a word. And a discretionary hyphen, which is shift command hyphen. You can put it before a word like Wendell, so it won't do when dull on the next line. It won't hyphenate that. So again, if you really want to control things like this, you use a discretionary hyphen to say, no, you cannot hyphenate there.
We have a couple questions.
Okay.
Can non-breaking space be used in library to keep specific multi-word terms as a unit?
Ooh, good question. Whoever asked that, it's your job to research that and then put it in the Slack channel so we all know. My guess is probably yes, but I don't know the answer to that.
And then is there a way to add a rule where InDesign knows not to break a word? Well, I guess it's kind of similar, such as a hyphenated brand name.
You might be able to put that in your dictionary. That's another one. See, I don't know the answers. I know a lot about InDesign, but there's a lot that I still don't know. And anytime I come across questions like that, that's when I go search it. So another place I get a lot of good tips is an email called InDesign Shortcuts, I think it is. About once a week, it comes into my inbox, and that's where I learned some things like, oh, didn't know I could do that. So I work in picas. I learned in picas. I think in picas. I do not think in inches. Some people think in inches, but you can either go up here to this little crosshair and hold the control key down, and you can change to whatever measurement system you want right there. Or you don't even have to change anything. You can let InDesign translate things to you. For instance, if I want to make a rectangle and I want it to be 4 inches wide, I can just type in 4IN, even though I have my preferences set. And let's make it 5IN. So InDesign will do the translation as long as you use things like P for pica, IN for inches. I don't think anyone in the United States thinks in centimeters or millimeters very much, but you can type in whatever whatever measurement system you think best in without having to change your preferences all the time. Baseline grid. If you like your type to align across a baseline grid, then that's a nice thing to do. Let me put in some placeholder text. Let's see, fill with placeholder text. Okay. And I make that 2 columns. It is going to align already because it's on the same leading. But if anyone has used the align to baseline grid, what they find out is your baseline grid default is set to 12 points. Well, if your leading is on 14, that doesn't work so well. So if you go to, let me get in my paragraph where I can see that baseline grid. If I option click this, it brings up the preferences specifically for my baseline grid, and I could change that right there. Like I could say you are now 14 points. And then I can tell this copy to align to baseline grid. And even though it might think it's supposed to be on 12, it has to go to those baseline grids. But you can, rather than having to open up your preferences, you can just option click again here and open that window up. Okay. My file's starting to look like a mess here. All right.
Sorry, quick question. Is there a grid there that was aligning to that we, like guides that we can't see?
Yes, there are. So let me back up and let me see. I can never, okay.
There
Baseline grid. I don't remember the shortcut and I'm not finding it in quick apply. I'm going to say view, guides and grids. I want to show the baseline grid. And whoops, I've got all sorts of things on here I'm showing. It may be because I have the yellow fill on here. Let me zoom up. Try again, view. See if I can get rid of the background a second. Oh, do you know how to get rid of master items? Anyone? If my yellow fill is a master item, if I just option command click, it brings that master item to the front or to that page, and I can, come on, I can delete it. Now let's see. Let me zoom up. There we go. Now I can see my baseline grid. By the way, let me go to that option click and view threshold. You're like, what the heck is a view threshold? That means you have to be at least 75% view on your screen to see them. If I make that 25%, then I can see it when I'm zoomed out. So sometimes you want to see your grids and they're not showing up and you're like, why are they not showing? Check that view threshold.
One more question about what you just, when you unlock the master item, is there a way to relock it?
What I can do is I can go back to my pages palette and I can just drag that master page back on top of my page and it places it on there again.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. InDesign does math for you. I love the fact that InDesign does math for you. So again, I'm going to draw a box and I'm going to say, I want this to be, all right, 30 picas. And then it's like, you know, I think I want to add 1 more inch to that. I can say plus 1 IN, and it automatically adds that. Or I can say, I just want it to be 1 more pica plus 1 P. Or I want it to be 150% bigger. I'm going to click my constraint proportions and I'm going to say times 1.5. So InDesign will do the math. It can divide it. I can say I want it divided by 2. And you can do that with text too. I mean, you can, let me get out of this, cancel, go to my text tool. I can say times 1.5 or 100. Ashley, you are a fabulous audience member. I just love that I can see at least one reaction. So again, InDesign will do math for you. We still have 98 people in here. And Pathfinder can change the shape of something for you. So it's like, oh, I made a circle and I really wanted a rectangle. You don't have to redraw it. Pathfinder will change that. I'm looking at the time and I'm gonna not going to do this one. That's too wonky. Text frame, Command Option C. Don't you hate it when you're trying to click on this and there's a text frame over the top of it? Command Option C, and it just pulls that frame up to the bottom of the text, which is great when you want to align things. Oh, here's another align tool trick. Go to align. You know how if you want to align things, it's going to align to the top. But if you option click what you want to stay stationary, it highlights that. And now when you say align the top, it brings the other item down to align with it rather than the other way around. Okay. You can also use that Command C to fit your frame to a content when you have a photo. Like that fits the frame to the, I just did the wrong one. I did fill frame proportionally. So I'm doing the Option Command C and it fits that. This is Shift Option Command C, which is to fill the frame proportionally. Oh, there's I hope people are okay. You know, if you need to leave, but there's a few other really kind of fun things that I've got in here. So if people can hang in for a few minutes, I'll keep going. If you want to place, what?
Oh, I was going to say, somebody wanted me to tell you that you're blowing up their minds. Mine too. We are also wondering, would you be comfortable providing your presentation to us?
Yeah, I will export it as PDF because I don't want to package it and have everything in there just because it'll be cumbersome. But it has all this information. I mean, all the screens you're seeing. So
Yeah. Okay.
you won't be able to practice it live, but you'll have all the things to remember.
Yeah.
So this is another one of my favorites. If I want to place multiple images, so you know, so I'll place Command D, and I'm going to go to my pictures, and I'm going to take 6 images. And I could individually place them, or I can drag, and this is important, do not let go of your mouse before releasing your mouse. I use my arrow keys, and I've made 2 columns or 2 rows, 3 rows, 2 columns. So I have 6 frames there, and let go, and then Option Command C. And now I have all of my images placed all at the same time. And then if you've ever can't remember where a file is, you can also make live captions that you put information in that tells what the name of that file is and whatever else you've put in the metadata that you want to include. So live caption. Let's see, let me try live caption info, live caption. I have a style for that, but I'm just going under Object, Captions, Caption Setup. And I'm telling it what I want to include in my live caption. And it's pulling from metadata. So it knows the actual PPI, effective PPI. If I don't type the text in here, it doesn't include that. So I'm going to delete color space, but leave that in there. Okay. But I saved that as a style, so I'm not sure I'm going to make anything change. But if you touch the box, the image, it will pull that information in. Let's put it under here. And if you ever just need to make a library of images and remember where they're from, that's helpful. So yeah, this is an example of that. And I'm not going to go into that too much because I want to hit a couple other things, several pages there. Anybody ever have to place PDFs that have multiple pages and then you place it and you just get that one page? You can place multiple pages. And again, don't do this. Don't just place the PDF. Like, let me see if I can find a PDF very quickly. That PDF. Don't just hit that in place because you'll only get that first image. Escape, File, Place, Command D. And I can hit Show Import Options, but then that leaves that import options toggled on until I turn it off. Or I just hold Shift down and say Open. And now I see this window and I can say, I want to place all of them, whether it's to the crop, a trim, whatever. And I say, okay. And now I have, unfortunately, you can't place PDFs the way you do JPEGs, where you can do that multiple trick I just did. But this is helpful if, like, I have a PDF file and I need page 13 out of the PDF file. You don't have to export that as its own file in order to place it.
Is there a benefit to placing PDFs over native files?
I much prefer to place PDFs over native files. And that's because if I package it, then if there's stuff in the native file that may or may not come with it, it just makes it, I feel more comfortable knowing that that PDF is exactly what it is. And it's not looking for a style that might be in, or a font that might have been in that original InDesign file. And also I think it doesn't make it quite so large. So this is for Jessica Soar. This is her shout out. You can place, in Photoshop, you can turn on and off layer options. I'm sorry, in InDesign. So I can select this piece of a Photoshop image and go under Object, Object Layer Options. Let me preview. And I can turn on and off layer options right inside there. So again, I don't have to have a separate JPEG that I've exported from Photoshop with just one thing. I can have it right there. And a good place that I use something like that is, here's an example of, I want this ice cream to come over this recipe frame. Well, I basically have a, let's go under my links. I'm going to double click that. Or no, edit original, sorry. And so I have a masked image and I have the original image. So basically in InDesign, this is really, whoops, hold on. Well, maybe, what did I do here? Oh, that's just an image I've made from that page. I can't dissect it. Basically, I have two images right on top of each other aligned. And between those two, the one that's masked and this one, I have my recipe frame. This is something I'm a real big believer in. Do not put your type into your Photoshop files. If you're going to take something into InDesign or Illustrator, put the type in there, because if you put it in Photoshop, it's going to become bitmapped type. And that means if it's, you make your file larger, your type could be really chunky and bitmapped. So this is one of my personal kind of mantras, is any kind of type goes into a vector program like InDesign or Illustrator, not Photoshop. You can make customized glyph palettes. You can search for glyphs by name, like if you're looking for a multiplication symbol. Command tab. I'm not going to be able to show you the command tab because I'm sharing the screen. It's not going to show you other things. But if you have Illustrator and Photoshop and Acrobat and Word and a million files open, programs open, command tab will open your screen. Are you seeing anything on my screen other than the, no, okay. But command tilde takes you to other open InDesign documents. Good housekeeping tips. Select unused swatches. Let's see what I've got. Not very many. I've done so much with this file, and throw them in the trash. And things like styles as well. If you constantly are exporting PDFs for different things, like I'm going to do file export, PDF, okay. If you are constantly changing things here that you might want, you can save that. You can save a preset. And it will pick up everything you've told it in here. It's kind of like making a little PDF style. So for instance, I export a lot to send files to the editor of the magazine to review. They don't need to be 300 pixels per inch. That will make them really large. So I have an export setting for 150 and show facing pages. And I use that a lot, so I save it as an export. This is something that if you ever have a file that really starts acting up on you, save it as an InDesign file, an IDML file. So that's a file. I don't think it's a save as. It might be an export. We'll find out. No, it's a save as. What it does is doing, for lack of a technical term, I'm going to call it degucking. It gets rid of things that are stuck in its memory and that are really messing it up. I had a file saved for me that way one time when it wouldn't open, and it was like a magazine I was working on, and if I'd had to rebuild the entire thing, it would have been the death knell. But I was able to have Adobe help me do that. Customize your workspace. So let's say Essentials is your default workspace. Where are all my tools? Where's everything I need? Well, there is Advanced, but maybe there's other things that I use a lot, or particular places I want my menus to go. I can make a workspace that is customized for me. And guess what? If InDesign ever crashes, those workspaces still are there. You can get them back, because if InDesign crashes and it reopens, it's going to reopen with one of their default settings. So I'm really, I love customized workspace. Edit original. This is a nice one. Normally you go up here to your links panel and you click edit original, and you can do that, or you can option double click the image and it opens it in Photoshop. I don't know, you don't see my Photoshop window, or do you? Nope, okay. That's the problem, sharing one weird screen. Let me go back. All right, save, all right. But option and double clicking an image opens it immediately in Photoshop. And by the way, if you have images that open in preview and you would rather they open in Photoshop, you can change that. I'm not going to go through it because I have to get out of the screen share and show another one. Oh, here's a fun one. So this is a grayscale image. If I look at the link, it tells me give me my info, that it's grayscale. And if I click on it with my selection tool and look at the color, it tells me nothing because that frame doesn't have a fill and the stroke, there's no stroke on it. But if I use my direct selection tool, now it tells me, oh, that's black. Well, maybe I want it to be orange. So if you have a grayscale or a black and white bitmapped image, you can change the color in InDesign. So again, you click on the inside and it says, oh, first of all, I'm going to go to the link, and that's a TIFF that is black and white. Go back to my colors, and I can say, oh, I'd like you to be bright red. So I do not have to go to Photoshop and edit that or wherever I created it. I think I'm kind of hit shuffle pages. That's another one that you can do, where if you want to see, like I'm working on an Instagram post and I have multiple images and I want to see what they look like together, I can slide pages together through shuffling pages. You can rotate the view of your page if you need to. I think I'm sort of hitting the end of, yep, there we go. So thanks for all of those that hung in there with me. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And if anybody has questions still that wants to hang in there, I can hang in a little bit longer.
Quick question.
I was
Yeah.
just going to announce, if we don't get to your question too, we can also put them in Slack and see if Leslie or any other crowdsourcing might have the answer.
Leslie, I think you may have answered this, but when you use the command enter for, what is it called? Quick
Apply, command return, yeah.
apply, is that
Mhm.
searching just the document you have open, or is that searching your history for everything you've ever done in InDesign?
It's really basically searching menu items and styles that you have in that document. So if it's styles or things like that, it's going to be within that document. But then again, you can search menu items like where is the in nested style function.
Thanks.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Just to be aware of everyone's time, maybe we go ahead and end this workshop, but we will follow up and put any other questions in today's Slack channel. I believe we've already started. Thank you, Brooke. But thank you so much for joining us today. Before we leave, I want to give another shout out to our event. I'm going to try to multitask. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet. There.
Oh, man. Well, I'm not sure what's happening, but it was just a list of our sponsors. So thank you, Kenzie Academy again, and all of our other sponsors. If you are interested in remaining events this week, information on those are still on our website, midwestdesignweek.com. You can also connect through Slack if you already have the ticket, which if you're here, you do. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us on Slack about anything else. Anyone with the MWDW tag in their names is part of the organization and can help with whatever you need. Oh my gosh, my husband is printing something from the other room. So sorry. Next up today is Take a Stand with Lettering, presented by Esso Tolson, beginning at noon. I hope to see you there and enjoy the rest of your week.
Okay, Jacqueline, one quick thing before you go. If you could save the chat, because there's a lot of things in there I would love to be able to see. Like I see this send for review, try it out, it's pretty rad. And a few other things that I would love to know, some of the tips that other people may have thrown in there so that I can learn some new things.
It should capture it
Okay.
on the back end.
Great.
Thank you, Ashley.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.